It's amazing what we will do out of habit or thinking that we should say something. It's like being in an elevator, that uncomfortableness. So you'll just say something, anything, to break the silence. So this is what we're practicing here, is coming into that state of stillness, so then we can begin to go about our everyday lives in this state of stillness. I've had a lot of people over the years come up to me and they'll say, "Oh, it must be so wonderful what you and Eckhart, what you guys must talk about. It must be so great, so deep, so fascinating." And I'm like, wow. It's interesting, their concept of what spirituality may be. Yes, sometimes we will have some wonderful conversations, but I'll say, you know what? Most of the time, we're just still with each other. We're just still, together and still. Oh, it's almost like this disappointed look on their face. So I invite you to experiment this week and going into that state of stillness. And who says you have to talk? You don't have to talk. Somebody comes up to you and starts a conversation, you can choose to listen instead of talk. Wow, what a concept. So begin to notice what is habitual socializing for you. Because we're actually here also to break habits. The habit of constantly trying to always think instead of maybe going into our bodies. So we can cut that habit, break that habit, and be in our bodies. So this is, in a way you can say, a higher level of everyday, an experiment for you, an exercise for you for everyday life. So this is how you can break the habit of just coming out and just talk. Just for the sake of noise, for talking. To make yourself feel maybe more comfortable because you're not used to being with somebody in silence. Before coming here, we had the 2.5 years of the pandemic where we had to cancel all the events. And so the catching up of 2020 events have been sort of spaced out, going from one city maybe to another, but then coming home and then going back out again, when usually our routine would be maybe 4 to 6 weeks of traveling before we come home. So in a way, I'm not even used to talking. And it's usually like this, but where I come on, and just as Eckhart comes on, and we have no idea what we're going to say. But when you had a 2.5-year break, it really feels like, oh my goodness, I don't know if anything's going to come out. And I have to say to myself, well, will it be okay just to sit there? There was a spiritual teacher, now I can't remember who it was, but I believe it was in India, where he was giving his satsang. The people came, and he was sitting there, and then a bird came and just landed on the ledge and started singing. And then the bird flew off. And the teacher left. And of course, the next day when they were meeting again, somebody asked, "Why did you leave without talking to us?" Well, you received the satsang. You received the teaching, the bird. He said what he had to say. Life had to say what it had to say. And if you were paying attention and listening, that was the teaching. I did something else one time, one of our foundation conferences that we had, where I was doing a meditation, and then I'm in this stillness, and then suddenly I just see myself get out of the chair and leave. I sat down in front because we were all sitting down in front. And then you see some people eyes open, including the organizers, and then didn't think to look just a few seats down, but just like, oh my God, what happened? Where did she go? And the emptiness of the chair is the teaching. Just the emptiness. That space consciousness is the true teacher. All the words point to the stillness within, but it's really that inner stillness. If it comes from that place of inner stillness, that is the true teaching. So if your words, if your touch, if your movement, whatever you're doing, whatever you're creating, if it's coming from that place of inner stillness, that's the true teaching. That's the classic that will just forever be there. And that's why we can go to some spiritual books and we'll read it once and that's enough. And then yet there's other spiritual books out there where you read it and you might reread it and it's like you see something new every time. And that's that inner stillness that's coming through. That's how those become classics. They just go on forever. As long as we're in the body, there it is. And this is what we're here to practice, is that state of inner stillness, so that we can practice that in our everyday lives. And you practice that in your everyday lives, maybe you won't need to come to a retreat. And we'll be out of a job. So breaking old habits. In the human realm. To be still. And I can almost hear people say, but then maybe we'll never talk. Maybe we won't. But I doubt that. Life is creative, so something will come through, but it'll be something very pure, very genuine, very creative. But it will change your way of being in the world. And isn't this what we're looking for, is that change? Something different to happen? Something genuine to come through us? To come through, we're the vehicle for life to create to speak, to be that consciousness, to pass on that invisible thread of love, of unconditional love. To connect with the other on a level that is not mental, but on a level, we can name it spiritual, we can name it just the consciousness connecting with consciousness, spirit connecting with spirit. And if we had that in our everyday lives, I wonder how different this world would be. And you are the leaders of that change. I mean, we don't know what's going to come about with the world, the state that it's in now. It may get worse, we don't know. But the question is, will you be part of that, or will you be part of that state of consciousness that we can call stillness?